on now. Oh. What is up, Drama Alert Nation? I'm your host, Chris. Let's get right into the news. Around the 1500s, many philosophers made many theories. One important one was about the Earth-centric view called geocentric theory. This came from Aristotle, a Greek philosopher. Many Christians were taught that God put Earth in the middle of the universe. People then started to make other theories that went against the church, and this period was called the Scientific Revolution. This was a new way of thinking about the natural world around the mid-1500s. One question that was brought up was the geocentric theory. The heliocentric theory went against it and meant that the sun was in the center of the universe. This theory was created by Nicholas Copernicus and used math to help prove his theory. And it went against the church, which made them furious. Another important person was Galileo. His discoveries supported Copernicus' ideas. He also built the telescope. The telescope was very important because it helped him figure out that the moon had a rough surface and that the sun had black spots. This went against the church teaching, which frightened them because if he was correct, people would start questioning other teachings that the church had. The Pope then forced him to say that these facts were all false and that the church was correct, or else he would be punished. Galileo was then put in house arrest and died in 1642. The church then later officially said that Galileo was correct in 1992. Copernicus, Kepler, and Galileo helped create the scientific method. It was a process of gathering and testing new ideas. The order is problem, observation, hypothesis, experiment, and the last is conclusion. Around the mid-1600s, Isaac Newton helped bring together Copernicus, Kepler, and Galileo's view of astronomy and physics under the theory of motion. He studied mathematics and physics in Cambridge University. When he was 26, he was certain that all objects were equally affected by the same force. He also said that the same force acts upon all the planets too. In 1687, he published a book called The Mathematical Principles of Natural Philosophy about the laws of gravity. This was one of the most important scientific books written. The Enlightenment was also known as the Age of Reason. It reached its high in the mid-1700s and changed the Western civilization. It was a movement that stressed reason and power of solving problems. The Enlightenment started around the 1600s by English political thinkers called Thomas Hobbes and John Locke. Locke was also a philosopher who favored self-governed rather than absolute monarchy. He said all people are born equal and free with three natural rights: life, liberty, and property. Ooh. There are many other people like Brown de Montesquieu. He created separation of power and put it in his book called The Spirit of Laws. Jean Jacques was another philosopher that created the social contract, which is that if people handed their rights to a strong ruler, in return they would get laws and order. He also believed that in people choosing how to be governed. One philosopher that went with women's right was Mary Wollstonecraft. She believed that women should be equal and then published an essay called Vindication of the Rights of Women in 1792. This was just something that happened in the Enlightenment. The Enlightenment has influenced many people like philosophers in America and also rich women in Europe. Three people that were very influenced were Frederick the Great, Joseph II, and Catherine the Great. Frederick granted religious freedom and improved education, but not for long because he had wealthy landowners. Joseph II of Austria was another person that introduced legal reforms and freedoms of press, but that only lasted until his death. Catherine the Great was also another person that was influenced because she abolished torture and capital punishment, and she helped expand Russia. Through the 1600s and 1700s, British formed a large and thriving settlement along the eastern coast of North America. In 1700, their population increased from 250,000 to about 2 million in 1770. These colonists had been living there for over 150 years. They had made 13 colonies, with each having their own government, and did not see themselves as part of Britain. In 1752, the British put the Navigation Act, which said that the colonists cannot trade any of their valuable goods to any other country except Britain. This was bad for the colonists because they had to pay higher taxes for French and Dutch goods. In 1754, war broke out against English and the English and the British. This war finished in 1763 when Britain won and gained French land in North America. Oh, hold on, I lost
For the boys, eh?
Okay.
Britain was in debt, in which they thought the colonists would help them pay by putting in the Stamp Act and other taxes and other acts that tax products. This made colonists very angry and wanted to separate. The Enlightenment helped influence independence. They wrote on July 1776 the Declaration of Independence. It was written by a political leader, Thomas Jefferson. This made conflict and both went to war. At first, it was not good for the colonists, but they would eventually win, as we all know. 3 reasons why they won were motivation, overconfident British soldiers, and time. Articles of Confederation was the first government, but failed in 1787. The Congress approved for a new government called the Constitution. The Enlightenment helped shape this because it created checks and balances, which made sure that all 3 branches would not be too powerful. It also helped create the federal system, with the power was divided among the state and the national government evenly. In the Constitution, it also had a very important part too. It had the first 10 amendments. This was called the Bill of Rights, which protected basic rights for the people. This was an important part in U.S. history. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Ooh.